Shalom. This coming Shabbat, in a few days, we will celebrate one of the most important and significant events in Jewish history, and that is the purchase of the caves of Marat Machpelah, by our forefather Abraham almost 4,000 years ago. As recorded in the Bible, Abraham paid 400 silver shekels, that being estimated today at somewhere in the vicinity of $700,000, for a cave and a field where he could bury his beloved wife, Sarah. It was a tremendous trial for Abraham, having to purchase the caves from Ephron the Hittite, who really didn't want to part from them. He didn't want to part with them. And he thought that by throwing out a number, such as 400 silver shekels, Abraham would refuse and walk away. But Abraham didn't. Abraham paid 400 pieces of silver to Ephron the Hittite, as recorded in the Bible. And since then, this site has been an integral part of the Jewish community, of the Jewish world, here in the land of Israel. It's a site where Jews have worshipped, where Jews have visited for thousands of years, except that for 700 years, from the year 1267 until June of 1967, it was off limits to anyone who was not of the Muslim faith, with our neighbors claiming that it belonged only to them, that the site is a mosque, and the Jews or anybody else must not be allowed to pray there or even enter that so sacred a place. Since we've come back here in 1967, the building itself, atop the caves of Machpelah, is accessible to anybody and to everybody of any faith, of any color, of any nationality. Anyone who wants has free access to visit that site. And this coming Shabbat, we will have, literally, without exaggerating, as we've had in years past, tens of thousands of people who will come here to celebrate with us this historic event. People come from all over the world just for the weekend, just for this Shabbat, to hear being read in the Torah, at the very site where it happened, the purchase of the first piece of land here in Israel by Abraham almost 4,000 years ago. And how significant it is that during this very week, as we prepare to celebrate the purchase of Marat Machpelah, we hear a voice coming from the United States of America, a shift in policy, a change in policy, a recognition that I, who live here in Hebron, am not living in an illegal, occupied piece of land. Since the Six-Day War in 1967, countries around the world have said that our Jewish presence here in Judea and in Samaria is illegal. They have said that people that live in Hebron, or people that live in Beit El, or in Shiloh, or in Eli, or in Kiryat Arba, are all contravening international law, that it's forbidden for us to be here, and that we're an obstacle to peace. Under the leadership of President Donald Trump, united policies have shifted from one end of the spectrum to the other, having recognized Jerusalem as the eternal capital of the Jewish people, and having moved the embassy from Tel Aviv to our capital in Jerusalem. And now the State Department, under the leadership of Secretary of State Mike Pompao, has recognized and acknowledged the legitimacy of a Jewish presence in Judea and Samaria, saying straight out, making no bones about it, our presence here is not illegal. We are not illegally occupying somebody else's land. We are living in our land. Just as a Frenchman can live anywhere he wants to live in France, and an Englishman can live anywhere he wants to live in England, as an American can live anywhere they want in the United States of America, so too a Jew, an Israeli, can live anywhere they want in the land of Israel. The only major difference between us and the others that I've mentioned is that we've been here for almost 4,000 years. And all of those who have denied our legitimacy, those who have denied the legality of Jews living here, are suddenly seeing another side of the coin. The State Department has always been known since the beginning of the 20th century as extremely anti-Israel. They opposed Truman's recognition of the State of Israel in May of 1948. But now, under the leadership of Donald Trump and Mike Pompeo, we're seeing a real shift. And the irony cannot be lost upon us that on this very week, when we celebrate, when we were able to read and see and feel the Jewish presence here, as is written in the Torah, how the first Jew came to the first Jewish city in the land of Israel and made the first land purchase here, a site that remains with us, a site whose significance cannot be lost upon anyone, the second holiest site to the Jewish people in all the world, second only to Temple Mount in Jerusalem. On the same week that we celebrate this, we see the most important country in the world, after the State of Israel, finally recognizing our legality and our legitimacy. And I think it's very important that we express our gratitude for this recognition. Myself, as a former spokesman for the Jewish community of Hebron, for an Israeli for almost 45 years, having lived in this area since 1981, I want to acknowledge and express gratitude for that recognition, not for making up something new, not for inventing, but for recognizing the fact that Jews have a right to live in the land of Israel, that I can live here freely as a Jewish Israeli, as part of the State of Israel, in the first Jewish city in the land of Israel, in Hebron. And so from here, from Beit Hadassah in Hebron, I wish to send my gratitude, express my thanks to this American administration, to President Donald Trump, to Vice President Michael Pence, to Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, to the former ambassador of the United Nations, Nikki Haley, and for all of those who are continuing to recognize the truth, to recognize the authenticity and legitimacy of the rights of the Jewish people to live in their homeland. Thank you.